59 at Radio Free America, and this is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. Coming to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern for about an hour. We talk about guns. Today is episode 811, so that means we've been doing it for a little while. On Mondays, we talk about behind the scenes, nuts and bolts, how people create content or what's involved with getting gun-related stuff online or what to do with it once it's there. And Tuesdays, we talk about Second Amendment stuff. Wednesdays, we talk about entertainment. Thursdays, it's different topics, and then Fridays is tech or in the industry. I'm going to start saying Thursdays is tech and industry, and Fridays is we wrap up the week and we look at what happened during the week. So this is a panel discussion. We have people, we send out links to the people over on gunchannels.com that are interested in coming in and chatting about guns. So we got Gary jumping in from Kansas. Sounds like you're having an interesting evening, day. Been all day, huh?
Yeah. Pretty much since I got home this evening. Thanks for the invite.
You bet. Thanks for jumping in. Thanks for saving some of your batteries for the show.
You bet.
And then Snob is in another tornado capital of the world, Oklahoma. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, if we just had one of the Nebraskans in here, we'd have Tornado Alley represented. Thanks for having me.
For the show, seriously. But did I hear the other day that like 7 tornadoes touched down in Tulsa or something like that in one day?
Yeah, I'll just right around here. They were all small, but there was still quite a bit of damage.
So Gary's dealing with high winds and whatnot, and you got no power. So you're just on the phone right now?
Yeah, that's correct. On battery power.
Right on. Some of the, well, that's sort of what we're talking about on Mondays is how to get the job done. So obviously, with just the phone and not a laptop and a monitor and well, I don't know, I didn't ask you about your internet, but without all the extra crap they might have with your desktop or even a laptop computer requiring power, with just a phone, you're able to grab the link, find the link and grab it, and then connect with the chat and have your mic and your keyboard and your camera basically all in one unit. Pretty energy saving. So you've gone hours or whatever. How long do you think you could go staying in contact with the rest of the world like that as is? Like if for some reason you didn't have power anytime soon?
Well, I've got this backup battery and I've got another one that's got a full charge on it. So I could go a couple days probably.
You know, I don't always charge my batteries as soon as I get back from something that uses them. So that makes you think, like, it might probably get better to get in the habit of charging them as soon as you can rather than whenever you need them.
Which just made me think that I should turn around and plug in my portable charger because I haven't charged it since we got back from Indy.
I got that one that John Z gave me, and it's like the performance of it is so good. Like for a long time there after he gave it to me, I could go, I don't even know, like 3 or 4. I could recharge my phone like 3 or 4 times. Like while the phone was being used, I could be live. Like I could be at low battery, go live, plug it into that battery pack. It would charge it, you know, be live the whole time and be charging the battery. When I'm done with the live show, unplug it and be back at 100% battery. And I could do that a couple of times before I'd have to charge that battery pack. It was amazing. And that because of that, I never even thought about charging the battery pack very often because I knew that I probably had a battery or, you know, one more charge left in it, probably.
Well, I've always got in the back of my mind that something like this could happen. So usually whenever I think about it, I put a charge on all of my battery packs. So in case I ever get into a situation like this, I've got the power.
Does anybody, especially you guys that are out there where you have the potential to be out of power for a while, it doesn't really happen here. So I don't know if it would be something on people's minds out here. But it should be because we can lose power just as much as anybody. Our cords from probably Vegas or something with power and water, you know, could easily be severed. But anyway, do you guys think about having something like maybe a car battery with some sort of voltage regulator monitor, something similar to what we might put in the back of a camper or like I have in the back of the van, just a 12-volt system that can power pretty much the stuff you'd power in a camper or vehicle setting, but then you can power it with a regular car battery and then recharge the car battery either with your vehicle, jumper cables, or solar. But like a permanent thing, like something you guys leave in your house because of the potential of losing power.
I don't, but I have 2 portable generators and then a welder that's a generator and then a generator for the tractor. So I don't really ever think about that.
Yeah, I've never done anything like that myself, but I think other than one ice storm several years ago, we've never went more than about 6 hours without power here. But we're getting pretty close to that now. We're
We'll
going on
see.
4.
In 2007, we had that real bad ice storm here, and the biggest problem was with the generator was getting gas because the towns were without power too. So you had to drive like 40 miles to go fill up all your gas cans for the first couple days till the towns got power back. We were without for 7 days, but
So without power, the gas pumps, even if they have gas in them, can't pump it up from the ground into your car. Interesting. Don't they have some sort of mechanical something around there, like an old-fashioned pump they'd have at the forest preserve?
I don't know. I mean, we have a diesel pump or a diesel tank that's just an overhead tank, so we can fill like our tractor and stuff. But as far as
but that's gravity. It always going to work.
Yeah. As far as gas, we didn't have any choices for gas till they got power back. Otherwise, you're driving to almost Tulsa before you found power.
Well, y'all ought to talk to Bob more often because you won't talk to Bob very long before he starts selling you solar panels. So seems like something you could have. Okay, I forgot what I was going to say. Something about Kansas, but you got out of that one, Gary. Pete is saying, kind of tech question. I'd like to start doing real videos, but I'm broke. What can I get by with cheap as far as getting a tripod mic, headset, and basic editing software? I would let these guys perhaps talk to you because they've purchased things relatively recently. I do everything with a telephone, so I don't buy. Well, I shouldn't say that. I have tripods that are. I can't tell you because I bought them a million years ago. I didn't spend more than $30 ever on a tripod. I've never used a mic that I've bought. I have wasted money on mics, but I never liked them and I never used them. Headset, same thing. I've had a few when I needed them, but then I do whatever I can do to not need a headset again. So right now I'm just talking into the room, into my laptop. I don't have a headset on or anything. And then basic editing software. But anyway, I'll let you guys adjust those because you guys have been acquiring stuff more recently. And then I'll go back and hit on something when you're all done. Go.
Don't both go at once. Oh, I guess I'll go since Gary didn't unmute yet. Oh, no, I did. So a cheap, let's see, what was this first thing? Cheap tripod, Amazon. They're not great, but that's what I have. They're fine. I just ordered another taller one. I'd like to have a really nice heavy duty one, but I'm tightwad, so like $20-$30 max. I think you can get them cheaper than that. A mic, pawn shops, man, pawn shops. That's where I buy all my stuff. If you were talking like a nice mic, I got a Blue Snowball for like $25, and my Yeti that Stacy has it now. My Blue Yeti was like $60, but you don't even need one that nice. You can get a decent headset, which I used for a long time, like a gaming headset off Amazon for like $25-$30 with a mic on it. If you want a headset and mic. And editing software, what's that one that everybody uses? Power Director. They have a free one. I don't know, never used it, but I use an expensive one, so I wouldn't recommend it. That's all I got. Gary's turn.
Well, I pretty much started out. Of course, I've had iPhones for years, so for the first year or so, that's all I had. I did all my recording with my iPhone. I didn't have an external mic. Tripod was just something I had around the house, and I'm like you. I don't spend more than $20 or $30 on a tripod. the little mounts for a cell phone you can buy for $5 or $10 at Walmart, or you can buy them online. As far as headsets go, if you want to get by on the cheap, any decent, even the corded headsets that come with the phones generally will get by. I mean, everything I've bought recently is just an improvement in technology, but none of it's absolutely necessary to do what I do. Uh, as you know, as you get to doing it, say, well, this will get you better sound, this will get you a better picture, but you can get by without it and do an awful lot of stuff. And at least on the Apple devices, they come with the iMovie software, which is a pretty decent little video editor. So now, if you're not on the Apple system, I'm not real sure what the Androids offer.
I've got one more real quick thing. If he was talking about a mic as far as recording video mic, that Boya lavalier mic off Amazon is less than $20. I think it's like 19 or something, and I've used that forever. And it works great. Or you can get that one, that Boya mic like Gary has. It's a kind of like the Rode Video Micro if you don't want a live mic. That's all I got. I'm done now. I'll shut up.
So tripods back in the day were a bigger deal because you have a lot. Well, you still have a lot of money worth of camera on it, but you'd have a lot of money worth of glass and aluminum and flashes and whatever else. Sometimes, arms and stuff that would hold a light or a flash or something. So tripods had to hold more weight and more bulk a long time ago, and that was a big factor in expensive tripods. Is the toughness or the design or the whatever. But now, most of the time, we're holding the phone up in the air or very lightweight cameras that are mostly hollow plastic. So I think I agree that those inexpensive ones you can get by. So I'll just throw out there, Amazon's fine, but think of your local thrift shops. If you've got like a church or a school committee or club, I guess, or any kind of little club might have a thrift store in a kind of a small shopping center or something like that. Those are perfect places to find stuff like that cheap. Now, sometimes you can get a really nice tripod, really inexpensively, but I'd actually recommend against it because most of the time those things are heavy duty, and because of that, they're heavy and they don't fold up very much. But I think maybe I'm wrong, but what do you guys think? I mean, one tripod will work, but I think that if you start getting into filming and you like recording different things, and some people will set up a studio, for example, and they consider that recording, and then everything they film they bring to the studio, so they don't really need to change their camera setup. But if you enjoy taking your camera to places and doing different types of recording, then you're going to end up with multiple tripods, multiple things that hold your camera, because there's so many options out there that are not necessarily one-trick ponies, but just useful in different ways, right? Like those things that can what are the thing called, the octopusy little gorilla thing that can wrap, or little articulated little arms that can wrap around a tree limb or open window in a vehicle or a pipe or something and put your camera anywhere. Like those things.
Just don't buy the like $6 or $8 one off Amazon. Do not. I broke 2 of them. They sent me another one to replace the first one, and I didn't even bother with the second one. I just bought a better one.
I do think as you get to doing this, you will get bored with recording videos in the same spot all the time, and you'll want to change up locations. You'll want to do stuff maybe outside from another room, or you'll want to get out and about where people are and record stuff out there. So yeah, you'll want stuff that allows you to move around really easy, and stuff that, like you said, yeah, you do want lightweight stuff that you can deploy fairly quickly and get set up and use. So that's kind of the way I operated. You can't do everything by hand and make it look good. So tripods are kind of nice to have.
So then I'll throw this out there. After all that's said and done, when I first read this, kind of like I read it as kind of like start making videos real cheap. Then I quit reading it. So if that's the question, you're not qualifying it with doing real videos, meaning I'm assuming like video reviews or something. But because I was gonna say there's lots of potential out there for doing something like what Guns and Gadgets is doing, right? Where he is just being aware and putting his effort into getting sources and what would that be called? Like fostering sources so that he becomes a valued resource. And a lot of times, one of the first at this point to be aware of something and then get it out there, get the word out there. And that becomes super valuable in his size and his whatever reach, that growth is a result of not his production. I suspect if he did it all with graphics, right, didn't even show his face, I bet you he'd be just, I don't think that would affect his project too much at all, if at all. And I can think of a couple other examples where, because of what they're doing is, I don't know, more research or more like maybe some of these history channels and stuff, they might have something like a graphic software that lets them create some images or something, but probably not spending a lot of effort on or cost on cameras, right? Even microphones, maybe. So I'll just throw that out there, that not everything has to be picking up a camera and emulating other stuff. You can do something different, make a comic.
Well, I think there's a lot to be said about knowing your subject matter and knowing when to record, when not to record, and what to record. If you do a video about somebody or something and you make it look good and you frame it well and you present it well, then you're an asset to whoever the subject is or whatever the subject is. And by the opposite, if you do a sloppy job and you don't present it in a positive manner, then you're not going to get those opportunities as much. So I think you've got to take a little bit of pride in your craft, learn what makes a video good, how to frame a subject, as far as camera work, try to do the steady stuff. And it's all stuff you learn as you go. But just watch people who do videos you like and try to emulate what they do.
Maybe one way too would be to look for people's videos on their setup, like what gear they're using, until you find somebody that's got a similar setup, and then look what they're doing with their setup. And then you get an idea of what kind of stuff is possible out of the rig you've got or the combo you've got.
See, that's something that frustrates me, and I have it on my channel, but a lot of these channels, especially the bigger channels, don't put, in their description what gear they're using. I mean, they have Amazon, links in there, but yet they won't put their gear they're using. And that's like so frustrating. I might use their link to buy something. I look at that and I'm like, wow, their video quality is really good. I wonder what camera they're using or what lens or, what mic they're using. Their audio is really good. And they won't even put it in their description.
Well, that's
a lot of them do.
I can tell you when we have our meetings and stuff, we don't want you people knowing how we do our business and stealing our piece of the pie. So, I don't know. I mean, that was kind of a thing back in the day. I don't think people utilize their about pages enough for stuff like that. Because that's especially like for this show, we're talking about getting stuff. How do you do it for the people that are nerding out, learning, or just curious, right? Because I was into photography my whole life, just as much as I've been into guns. Really, I just think photography is neat, and as technology changes, I remember not being a big fan of digital at first because it was crummy. And I was like, why would I want to take a crummy digital picture and all that cost and just to look at it on a computer? That's sort of like, at the time, I thought it was a worse idea than slides. Slides were fun and kind of neat, but you could only look at them through a slide projector. So how often do you get to grab a bunch of people and push them in front of a slide projector? It's almost pointless. Same thing with the computer. It's like, okay, we can spend all this time and effort to take a digital picture and then gather everybody around a computer and make them look at it through this tiny TV screen. So, there's the being involved in the technology as it's evolving has been fun.
And I think part of being in a big community like gun channels is that people are usually always willing to share both ideas and tips on here's how I do things. You might try this, and I've learned from people like Clover and Ghost, I've also learned quite a bit from the Gun Snob about some of the successful things he does, and he's given me tips on this equipment, that equipment, and stuff like that. And I'm learning things as I go, and hopefully someday I'll get to the point where somebody else can seek information from me, and I can be a valuable resource to them too. So.
That's a great point. Learning from other people's mistakes and horrible failures is always a good opportunity, right? I should have said that about midnight, but it'll apply either.
Gary, I know you can't see the side chat since you're on mobile, but your check's in the mail for that comment.
Oh, okay.
Talking to the big gizzard. He's getting a big bucket of gizzard fixins.
You bet.
Let's see. Use different company names. What? Oh, I get you. They're talking about themselves in the chats over there. So now let's screen capture and let's go see what's going on the calendar. Because one of the things I like to do on Mondays is talk about what's going on in the future. So on Fridays, we're going to take a look at what happened this week in the past. And on Fridays, we look at the future. That way we cover both spectrums of the time continuum. So over on Gun Channels, one of the things we've built over there is a calendar, right? Because half the stuff that we do is cover events or be aware of what's going on out there. Like I believe right this moment, there's a bunch of people in Pennsylvania doing, or at least there was a bunch of people in Pennsylvania meeting today, right? On a 2A rally. Let's see, there's a FICC, Firearms Industry Compliance Conference from the NSSF. That'll be going on for the next few days. We've got until the 5th, so I guess until tomorrow. Or wait. I don't know how long that's going. Who cares? Somebody's going to it.
Yesterday.
Yeah, but it says ongoing, so I think that's like a 3-day thing. We got the 39th annual LEO training conference where law enforcement gets together and talks about training. Kind of interesting. Put that on there because Mike and Ghost are doing the training day series. And then we got the USCCA does their once a year annual expo. That's coming up on the 17th. You've got the 54th annual Colorado Gun Collectors Association. That's a big antique gun show. So it's 54th year in Colorado in Denver. That's coming up on the 18th. That same weekend, the Tivan show, and Armament Nexus, I don't know if he's out there, are going to be doing the first of their 2 creator summits this year. This is a 1-day event in May. There's another 3-day event coming up in September. Those are in Ohio. And then later on in the month, PD and Ken from No Other Choice and Provicus Group or something like that, and Aiming for the Truth are doing a train and learn event, groundbreaking industry get together, team up, training opportunity, and Snob's going to that. It sounds like MW Mike was gonna try to attend it also. Talking to him earlier today. And that's some stuff that's coming up in the calendar. If you know anything that's going to be in coming up on gun related, throw it in the calendar. Anybody can, as a member of Gun Channels, can just click on events. And there's the thing that says create new event right there. And if it's firearms related, feel free to put it in the calendar so that we can be aware of things that are coming up. I'll hit a couple other things coming up in the rest of the year. I already talked about the Taiwan show and Armament and Axis doing that creator summit. So unlike KD's, but it's unique in its own way. They're having a multi-day event for gun content creators, firearm content creators. It's in Ohio in September. And then I don't have it in here yet. I guess I haven't put it in here yet because I didn't know the date. But on September 20th, the Gun Rights Policy Conference is coming up in September in Phoenix. And that is when all the gun owners' rights groups from the state and national level and those of special interest, focused special interest areas of firearms community get together once a year, brought together by the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms and the Second Amendment Foundation, both run by Alan Gottlieb. This is like their 34th year or 35th year coming together to allow the Second Amendment organizations to let the world know where they're at, what they've been doing, what they see as challenges, what resources they might need, and lets everyone gather and network and be aware of what each other's efforts are out there. So that's coming up in September in Phoenix. If you have the opportunity, I would highly recommend you put that on your calendar. Gunpowder's asking, anyone know of anything happening in Texas in June or July? Probably heat. A lot of heat. But no, I'm not aware of anything off the top of my head. Let's see if we can go find something on the calendar. There's something in Utah in July. And TriggerCon is in July, but that's in Washington State. But don't really have a lot. We have the Oklahoma Full Auto Shoot in June, close to Texas, but it's not. So, nope, nothing that I'm aware of in Texas. All right, well, we got a lot today there. Both of these guys were about to fall asleep when they saw my email come in and wanted to jump in to keep the show going, but we don't have to make it an effort. And when we do it on the daily, that means not every show has to be awesome. So I guess we can wrap it up. My dog's got the poops, so she'd probably rather go outside than sit here watching me. Changed her food from buffalo to lamb. I think she likes it.
She's not a sheepdog.
I don't know. Yeah, she looked at me. She doesn't like eating it. But one, they didn't have the one, and I didn't feel like going to a different store. And two, it's $8 cheaper. So I was like, well, you're trying this one this time. I bought her smaller bags of it, and she like looks at me funny when I give it to her. She likes the buffalo better, but anyway. Anything else going on?
I ain't got nothing this week.
I don't either till Friday, I guess. Maybe
Right
my
on.
power will be back on by Friday.
Maybe.
Hopefully.
So,
Otherwise, call the people at that power plant, a bunch of lazies.
Probably the tech support guy.
yeah, I know.
You probably got his number somewhere.
Yeah, probably.
All right, so tomorrow we got the 2A workshop, and then after that I'll head over to Charles Heller's house, and we're going to go live on location from his house, which is like a mile from my house. And then we'll interview Charles, talk about what it's like to have been one of the people that created the Arizona Citizens Defense League. And he sits on the board, or he does jobs for various groups. And then Wednesday, we're chatting with Mac from Military Arms Channel, Tim from Military Arms Channel, about his, I guess, path or career or journey into this whole thing. On Thursday, we'll be chatting with, who are we chatting with on Thursday?
Is that Ghost?
No, Ghost is next week.
Oh.
What am I trying
I
to
just remembered seeing him pop up.
Oh, Guns and Gadgets from Massachusetts. So we'll chat with him and see what it's like to be a cop with kids and, like say, an interest in getting the word out, and then, you know, having been fairly successful with that.
He seemed like a really good guy.
Heck yeah. And I guess besides that, we'll, like I say, we got the 2A workshop. Rick will have his Shooting with Disabilities on Wednesday. What am I missing? A couple of shows on Tuesday happen. A whole bunch of stuff will happen on Thursday. Then Gary's show shows up on Friday. Wrap up the week. We'll be back every day this week.
Did you see Gunpowder's question?
Best items for making a home range? I think that's a better question for you. You've got the room. First is room, right? And then good neighbors. Then maybe a little bobcat. Would you rent a bobcat? I guess if you owned enough room for a range, you would want your own bobcat, right? Or something similar.
We have a tractor, but yeah.
I mean, you'd want something to move dirt around and drag stuff around that's too heavy to drag, and you wouldn't want to, you know, you'd want something to be able to move junk around to make a berm and to maintain a berm.
I'll tell you a really easy way to build a berm, or at least the way I did. I have a tire machine, so all my family and neighbors and everybody thinks they have to have me fix their tires or change their tires or trailer tires and stuff. And they all seem to leave them at my house. So I had this huge stack of tires out back of my shop. So I took them and just stacked them and then just buried them in dirt. So they're filled with dirt and then covered in dirt. And that filled up a lot of space. Plus, it got rid of a bunch of tires I couldn't get rid of.
Keep asking how much work is it to maintain a berm. That'll depend on weather, how much you shoot at it, and then what it's made out of, probably. So, pretty sure I've never heard of a berm that doesn't need upkeep. So any range that I've been aware of any size, will have its own tractors and stuff, and that's a pretty good indication they're smashing their own berms up, depending on the state, and then whatever federal stuff they've got to go through and de-lead their berms every so often. So go in, dig them out, sift through them all, put them back together. Out here they'll soil cement them. I don't know if they do that other places where they kind of put some kind of a, I don't know what it is, glue, kind of watery glue that makes the sand kind of stay in a hill, kind of stand up wind.
Well, here we have real dirt, so I just threw a bunch of Bermuda seed up there, and it grew, and that pretty much keeps it from washing away and stuff. And I have steel targets, and I don't miss my steel targets, so there's never any going into the berm. I'm just saying, I mean, I might be lying about that, but
What else then? I would think having some kind of a nice set down place with a roof over it would be handy.
yeah, I've got all the material to build one. I just haven't got around to it. That's on my list of things to do, but I'm getting all my buddies that come out and bring their kids out to shoot to help me, because I was going to build a little covered spot to shoot from. So when it's hot this summer.
Having steel is handy. There's no point in shooting anything. Well, I mean, you can always shoot something else, but steel is nice. And so I would say having some kind of, I would say a acetylene torch, right? So you can weld and cut with it. That way you can utilize whatever scrap metal you might have and cut holes in it.
Mm-hmm.
Does anyone collect the lead? Heck yeah. We can keep your own lead, or I'm sure you can sell that stuff off just on Craigslist or something if you had to.
Never even thought about it. I just let it go in the ground, I guess. I'm a horrible person.
Huh? Well, you already live right next to Snob lives just south of where pretty much all the lead that was used to make the bullets in World War II and everything else that they made lead out of in World War II and World War I, I think. All of that lead came out of Oklahoma, just north of where he's at. So I guess you got plenty of lead in that area. That's what we're saying.
That's why I'm so dumb. All the lead in the water.
Well, it was something new out here. Had the phone number out there, and no one took advantage of it. But we did get a phone-in caller. So this is a question for Gizzard, or maybe you can answer this one.
La quadrature du cercle, c'est ce problème géométrique célèbre de l'Antiquité. Étant donné un cercle, construire un carré dont l'aire est la même que celle du cercle.
That's a good question.
Occasionally I have, but most of the time I just use regular old bullets.
Right on. And then there's a follow-up.
Et le faire uniquement avec la règle et le compas, selon les principes géométriques de la Grèce antique.
No, I've met the gun snob. He's actually a pretty decent guy.
Very, on a trick question like that, like a gotcha question, that was an excellent answer. I didn't think there was a way to answer that one well. You freaked it.
I'm still trying to figure out what the heck it said, so I'm out.
Oh, you didn't understand that?
Oh,
No.
We're a very sophisticated evening show.
Yeah.
All right, well, so we're not getting that many more questions. Gunshot side, they're not even saying anything. What's going on over here? 10 acres. How many acres do you think you'd want for a range?
I mean, for the range itself, doesn't take anything. But around it, I don't know. Depends on how far your neighbors are away and what's across the road from you. I'd think you'd want 5 at least. At least 3 or 4.
I can picture 40. So I'm going to say 20.
How big of a range you building?
I'm just thinking because I want to have like room around it, but I guess it depends on, trees and that kind of stuff. And she's saying they've got trees. So if you're cutting it into trees, I guess that's a little different. It's not like being on the nothing, it's just prairie or desert or nothing where the sound's just going to travel. If you got trees, I'm trying to think, pretty much whatever you do inside of trees, it's going to get absorbed or go straight up, right? So you could be probably a little closer in a wooded area to your neighbors. That would just sound like you're over there knocking some kind of machinery around or something. Concrete for backstop on the range, yes or no? I'm going to say no. I mean, definitely not for the actual backstop. You could create a berm, I guess, to save dirt or something. Create a brick wall and then fill dirt on one side of the brick wall to create a berm. To stop you from having to have the dirt for the other side. But no, you would just destroy concrete. 308 shoot through concrete in an afternoon.
Yeah, and then also ricochets off of it real bad with like 22 or something.
That's true too, yeah. And you wouldn't really be consistent because as it got ate away, even the 22 would start eating it away. So every time it got chipped or knocked around, it would be a completely different geometry, right? You'd have weird ricochets going off. It's not like steel where it's basically gonna be consistent ricochets, ideally straight down.
Yeah. And see, the thing I was thinking about with not having to have much land is I don't have any neighbors. Like literally, if I only had 2 acres here, I could still have my range on it because it's all pasture land all around me. As long as I had a backstop, there's nothing to worry about. But
now, what about if you've got pasture land? Our neighbor's going to be like, "You're disturbing my cows."
I guess what they don't know don't hurt them. I don't know.
Well, their cows would come in all stressed out and not giving milk, or cheese or whatever. It'd be squirting out cottage cheese instead of regular milk. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's always circumstance, right? You could always have neighbors that are jerks, even if you had all the room in the world. And you could have neighbors that don't care at all and just want to use your range all the time. I would say with trees, it sounds to me like it would be neat to do some sort of like, whatever you call like Lincoln logs or like a log cabin. How you make the notches or whatever and just kind of stack some logs up to like stack them up and be a wall and then throw a bunch of dirt up against them.
The only problem I'd have with that, I don't know how maybe the weather up there is less conducive to it, but is I would hate to put all this work into them and then the trees rot in 2 years.
Well, that's true. They would rot at some point.
And it depends on the kind of tree. I mean, if you can find bodark trees, they will never rot.
Yeah, I mean, if you did pine trees would rot too. You'd have to use like cedar, I guess.
Yeah, cedar won't that bad.
And the thing about a home range too is I would say you can grow and build and evolve it. I mean, right? You don't have to start ultimate or wait until you got ultimate resources or the best design ever. You start with something and then figure out I want to do something else as you got more money, or you can borrow something.
I mean, all my life growing up, our range was a pond dam behind, but it's, a quarter mile over to it through the pasture. So the only time I ever shoot that one still is just when I'm shooting, 600, 700, 800 yards more than I can do. Well, I can only do about 100, 150 at my house. So if I want to shoot longer than that, I have to load up stuff and haul it over there. And I can't really leave stuff there because the cows will just destroy it. Like I made these wood target stands and went back like a week later and they'd already destroyed it.
By going over and screwing with it, or just walking past it and not giving a crap and knocking it over?
Well, the bulls are real bad about like scratching themselves on it, rubbing up against it, and they'll just destroy it.
So they figure you put it there for them to fiddle with, and they're fiddling.
Yeah. Like we had a picnic table and it over there, and the picnic table is like the perfect shooting bench to shoot off of till they destroyed it.
See, I never like shooting off of. I don't like picnic benches in general, though. Something about them, I don't like them. I made a thing out of like I had a cheap, what do you call it, bench press type of thing for lifting weights, like an inexpensive one you get as a kid. And I just welded a couple extra pieces of metal onto that and turned it into where, like, normally you'd lay on it to do the bench presses. That was the seat. So it was kind of like a motorcycle or a jet ski or something. You could sit on it on side saddle or straddle it or however, and it was kind of big. And then, the other where the weights would be, I sort of made a table up there, and it was kind of obnoxious, but for something like what you've got, where you can just leave it out there or like throw a tarp over it or put it underneath a shelter top or a roof or something, then it would have been fine to leave it there.
Well, I built the last shooting bench I got, and kind of like it's almost like an overgrown version of an old school desk where you slip in one side of it and it's like an L shape.
Uh-huh.
Works pretty good. I just built it out of a lot of scrap deck material after building decks.
Pete saying, will a home range cause values to fail or to fall? Basically you're throwing your house away, right? Nobody wants a house after there's been a range in it. All that lead, all that primer residue on the grass. Plus the violence, they just assume there's bodies everywhere. So the violence. Hauntings. All the gun ghosts. No, I don't know. I imagine it depends on the buyer, right? Like anything. Just like if there was a tennis court, I would not want a tennis court. It'd be like, well, now how am I going to have to pay to get rid of that tennis court, right? Somebody else might want a tennis court.
Or you're going to have to pay to take tennis lessons.
No way, I'd just get rid of a tennis court. Who wants a tennis court?
Dead Horse said you could turn it into a 100-yard horseshoe pit.
Having to remove the tires. Again, it's just like having a backyard gym, or what, not gym, what do they call them? Playground things. And then people chop up tires and put them on the ground so the kids fall in there and don't die. It'd be the same, right? Like somebody's going to say, hey, that's great, my kids can play on it. Other people are going to say, I don't have any kids and I got to pay to scrape that all out of there. I think it'd be the same with a range. Somebody might go, oh, I don't know what a shooting range is, but that's perfect for my other weird hobby or horse riding or something. I mean, some people are going to like a property enhancement. Some of them aren't.
Torment City Pete said a berm with 200 tires, and so it would be hard to clean up. Yeah, mine's got probably 50 in it, and I really would like to move it and change everything, and I'm not in the mood to do it, so I haven't done it yet.
I think the way to go would be to take basically start stacking tires, but make them into some sort of hallways and rooms and stuff. So you have like a shoot house. So you start stacking tires in a blueprint like that until they get to be taller than walls. And then I've seen them where they'll take some sort of chicken wire, chain link or something, and strap that on there so they don't fall all over the place and they stay up as walls. And then you start filling them with dirt. And then who wouldn't want that in their backyard? Giant house made out of tires with no roof. That'd be awesome.
And you could make it into a maze also. So
yeah. So
therefore, if you sell your house, that's a value thing. You can have a maze for Halloween.
That's true.
All right, well, that air signals the end of the show. So we'll leave it with a question for the audience.
Est la même que celle du cercle, et le faire uniquement avec la règle et le compas, selon les principes géométriques de la Grèce antique.